Hello my dudes, welcome back to my channel. I hope you had a lovely week, and this week we are going to look at my results from the Mark Carroll challenge. I'm going to give you a bit of a review and just my thoughts on whether I think it's worth it. So let's just start with a review. And did I think it was worth the money? No, I didn't personally think that it was worth I think it was like £75, and I probably won't do another one. I'll go into a bit more detail about why that is later on in the video, so have a look in the comments for some timestamps if you want to skip ahead. In terms of how I got on with the challenge, I had a really good, maybe like first 3 or 4 weeks, and then after that everything kind of started to go downhill from that point. So in terms of weight loss, from the start of the challenge to the kind of lowest weight I got to, I'm sorry, the light keeps changing, God's sake. So I started the challenge at 84.6 kilos and the lowest weight I got to was 80.4. So that's, 4.2 kilos, which probably took about 4 weeks for me to lose just over 4 kilos, which actually is a really good weight loss without being too fast. So I was quite happy with that, but I didn't actually end up finishing the challenge properly. I bailed out probably like 10 days before the end, but I think that has way more to do with me and where I'm at than it really does with the challenge. Let's get into the proper review of the challenge, and I'll start with negatives first. In terms of negatives, really my only main, well, there's kind of two, I guess. The first one is the price. £75 is quite a lot of money, I think, for how much use I got out of it. But that isn't necessarily a reflection of how much you get for that £75. I kind of went over in my first video what you get with it, but the main criticism I personally have is to do with the workout, and that is because I didn't have access to a gym the entire 8-week period of the challenge, because the UK has been in a lockdown since all the gyms have been closed, and I had no intention of going and buying a load of gym equipment, mainly because I don't really have the space for it. So I was planning on continuing with home workouts all the way through, and I did do the first 2 weeks of the workouts that are given in the challenge, but after that they were really, so the workouts themselves were really uninspiring. The home workouts, or the kind of body weight workouts, you only got 2 workouts, so you know, a full body 1 and a full body 2, that you were supposed to do those twice a week. So essentially you're doing the same 2 workouts for 4 weeks, and then the workouts change. So and I understand you want kind of progressive overload and that sort of stuff, but you can't progressive overload with home workouts really if they're just body weight. So you need other ways of making the workouts harder. So there was no progression throughout that 8 weeks, which I think for a body weight or a home workout program is just not good enough in my opinion. If I compare it to what I get in my Stronger by the Day program, which you pay $8 a month for, so that would probably be about £6. You know, for £75 you get like 12 weeks worth of programming, gym and home, and there is a progression. It's a really well thought out program. So, and I know you get more than just the programming for the £75, but I didn't think the home workouts were good enough. I didn't try any of the gym ones. I did have a look at them and they looked a lot better, but I didn't have access to a gym, so I can only base my review on what I had access to whilst I did the challenge. So I would say if you don't have access to a gym or a home gym, I probably wouldn't spend the money on the challenge. I did sort of mention the cost, and it's not that I don't think you get enough information for that cost. You get access to so much information, and if you are a beginner, that is going to be really, really helpful because it's all in one place. Having said that, quite a lot of the information wasn't new to me, which meant that I probably didn't get as much out of that £75 as you possibly normally would. But if you have got, a couple of £100 to spend to pay for the programme and the gym equipment, I honestly think you'd be better off spending that money with some sessions with a personal trainer and just kind of researching the basics of nutrition yourself, because all of this information is publicly available, and there's lots and lots of free resources on YouTube and on Instagram. Or pick a cheaper weightlifting program and save your money. What we haven't talked about is why I ended the challenge, and I don't know if I've touched on it in a video yet, but it will definitely come up again when we do my April New Year's resolution at the end of this month. But I got to a point through the challenge where trying to stay in a calorie deficit and track my macros and do my workouts and get my 14,000 steps in a day, where that just felt so impossible and like so much of a mental drain that I just decided it wasn't worth it. The benefit I was going to be getting by staying in a deficit for another fortnight just wasn't worth the amount of mental capacity that it was taking up, and it was really starting to make me feel like shit, to be honest. So I decided to just stop, and not only did I stop the challenge, but I am going to take a break from dieting for a while. I'm in an iron about whether I was just going to carry on with my deficit and try and get to my goal weight, but I have just reached a point, I think, where physically I could probably carry on dieting, but mentally it's just I'm not in a good place to do that right now, and there's no benefit to really forcing myself to try and lose this weight as quickly as possible at the detriment of my mental health and well-being. So I'm going to take a break. I've had maybe 2.5, nearly 3 weeks now of not tracking at all. I mean, I haven't even opened my MyFitnessPal in that entire time. I've eaten whatever I wanted. One of the benefits of flexible dieting, which I'm really glad that's the approach that Mark takes within his challenge, so I guess that's another positive. One of the reasons I'm glad about that is actually what the kind of main bulk of my diet hasn't really changed that much. I'm just eating more, and I am eating a few more treats, junk food, than I typically would. But to be honest, I think there'll come a point soon, and I kind of feel like I'm already there where I've got that out of my system, because I'm trying to concentrate on how I feel, and I'm starting to feel quite bloated at night, and I think that's just because I'm maybe not eating as healthily as I could be and probably should be. So more on that at the end of this month, so keep an eye out for the video on that in the first week of May. One of the other positives I would say though actually is that, and I'm by no means the authority on this, but I do think the information that is given is responsible, it's semi-sustainable, and it's not sensationalized. He's not trying to sell you some absolute miracle. He's just providing the tools and the information and the accountability to help you be successful. So I think that's a real big positive in my book, is that the type of the information that he's given isn't some like magical miracle cure. So to sum the whole video up, should you buy it? Who's the sort of person that should buy this? If you've got the money and you want some accountability, you want a training program, maybe you're new to nutrition and diet and macros, and you want to start learning all of that information, I think doing one of Mark's challenges is a really good way of doing that. I'd also say if perhaps you're interested in some of his other guides, and you kind of want to get a feel for what's the sort of information that you get in those, it's a real good source of information for that as well. But I would also say that if you are going to embark on one of his challenges, to really sit and check in with yourself about how you're feeling, and to make sure that you're in a good headspace to, you know, commit to that 8 weeks or whatever. So maybe if I don't think I would recommend doing back-to-back challenges. For me, I just don't see that would be really particularly beneficial. I obviously can't talk for everybody, but I would just say maybe if you've been in a deficit for a while, or you've been dieting for a while, this might not be the best option for you in terms of giving yourself that mental break. Let me know what you thought of today's video, if you've done any of the challenges or maybe did the current one. I would love to know, you know, whether anybody had similar experiences to me or not. I hope you have a really lovely week, and I will see you soon.